Welcome back, everybody. It's the Hearthstone Global Games, week number 7, day number 2. Chile, unfortunately, they do lose out 3-0 to Norway. And now we move on to Ukraine versus Czech Republic. My name's Dan Gaskin, and I have my good friend, the other Dan. It's Falcone.
There was Norway back for Chile in that matchup.
Oh.
You didn't use it.
Why did I not think of that? That was so good.
I thought I stole it from Twitch chat. I was like skimming Twitch chat while watching you cast that game.
Twitch chat comes up with the best of things.
Got to give them the credit for that.
So, Group H. We move into now, not H, which Neil claims it is, and as we can see, Ukraine and Czech Republic, they are the giants of this group, both at 3-0, but I think there's a lot of respect and reputation on the line here, Dan.
This game is all about seeding and all about glory, and I don't know which of those is most important, honestly. I referenced right at the start of today there are some rivalries that may have come up as a result of HCT, and when the player lineup comes up, I'll talk you through that.
Yeah, because there are some absolutely phenomenal players on both of these teams, to be honest. A lot of accolades, a lot of experience within HCT, and as you can see, both of those lineups, in my opinion, pretty stacked. And just looking at the anchors in general, you're already looking at two fantastic players.
Yeah, it's no surprise whatsoever to see these guys at the top of their group together. Now we're going to see really which one is at the top. Several of these names you'll recognize from HCT over the weekend. Stan Sivka just missing out on a trip to Shanghai because he lost to Kalento on the other team.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of rivalry there.
I'd love to see them up against each other for a rematch.
If they play each other, that would be absolutely fantastic. Then we look at players like Dr. Hippie. I mean, we can't count out the fact he came second at the 2016 World Championships.
Just losing to Pavel, right?
Exactly, losing to Pavel. First place in the Europe Summer as well to get there in the first place. Naria, top 8 at the Winter 2017 Championships. So just all that experience just being shoved into one team. I'm not surprised they are both at 3-0 at the top.
Gotta say as well, Naria also qualified for Shanghai last weekend in HCT. Both him and Kalento on the same team, representing half of the Europeans at Shanghai for the Spring Championships. It's very impressive performance from Ukraine.
Very impressive. And speaking of Naria, we did actually catch up with him before the broadcast, so let's find out what he had to say.
Hey, I'm Naria. I'm playing for Team Ukraine and, of course, Team Liquid. And Team Ukraine is the best. Of course, we got really good players, and Kalento is our brain center. In game, he takes the most amount of decisions. He's probably last instance of decision making. Nick Cheaper, he usually brings more in preparation. He finds decks from what people are playing. In game, he's good at aggro decks, like what people can do, especially with Hunter, of course. When we play against Hunter, or we play Hunter, that's where he shines. Dr. Hippie doesn't bring anything to the table. He just sits and watches. Kappa. When we play freeze mage only, that's when he does something. And myself, I suggesting plays in the first hand. So I'm suggesting play, then we are talking, and then Kalento approves it. If not, he suggests it, and then I approve. So it's back and forth.
There we go. That is going to be the game for Naria.
I don't think communication is the problem. It's just how we build communication, I would say. You don't have to throw emotions everywhere and on your turn speak about non-game stuff or just non-relevant stuff. Sunday, we sit together and think about what we want to play, and then just prepare in Skype call whatever we want to bring. We just throw everything, every idea, and then whatever we like we just put in. I think patience is really a key. We prepared better, we queued really good matchups, and we won just because of that.
So Ukraine, apparently the best team in the world, and also apparently made the biggest Blade Master I've ever seen in my life.
Thousands of attack and health. What was that?
I don't even want to attempt to read how big that Blade Master was. Interesting fact for you, Dan.
Yeah.
Did you know that 50% of the games from Ukraine and Czech Republic have all ended in 3-0?
Wow.
Did you know also today we've already had 2 3-0s today?
We have. So one of these teams is definitely going to want to 3-0 the other, but I can't imagine it being that easy for either side of this series.
So there's all the classes then. Nick Chipper and Cloud are going to be the first ones to pit themselves against each other, and they have the choice of Paladin and Warlock or Druid and Warrior. Now, we always say, well, it's probably going to be Paladin if they are paired with Warlock, but sometimes it is nice to get that little bit of a surprise factor, and of course we can see all the other classes brought by everyone else as well. It is a best of 5 format. All 9 classes are brought by both countries. If it goes to 2-2, that's when we get to that ace match where that 9th class has been brought and can be played as a possible one instead of the class that's been used previously in the series.
Now, fact for you, Dan.
Okay.
Raven has a bit of a man crush on Nick Chipper.
Kappa Pride.
And it's absolutely true. He'd admit to it as well. Raven absolutely loves Hunter. Nick Chipper, very well known for always being in the top ranks with Hunter. Nyria even mentioned that in his interview.
Yeah, exactly. It was something when I was just checking out his social media feed. I was thinking, all right, what's he been up to? He's constantly banging on about how good Hunter is and how successful he's been with it. So maybe we'll see us a nice performance today with that Hunter, maybe.
Czech Cloud, not the most competitively well-known player, but he's a massive streamer in the Czech Republic scene with over 40,000 followers on Twitch.
Wow, that's a very popular man.
Yeah.
Very popular man in the Czech Republic community.
And that's what Hearthstone Global Games is all about. Obviously, skill in the game and popularity on Twitch aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. People watch you if you're good at Hearthstone, you know. But when you look at these teams' competitive pedigree, I would have to lean towards Ukraine in who I'd say the favorite is here.
So would you say that good players can have no followers on Twitch?
Oh yeah.
Is that why
nobody wants to watch a good player on Twitch?
Is that why I've got no followers, Dan?
Of course. Contradiction to that is Kalento, one of the biggest Hearthstone streamers, one of the best Hearthstone players. As we mentioned before, he's qualified for Shanghai in the Hearthstone Championship Tour Spring Championships, and he has a massive stream. And Nyria even mentioned he's the main decision maker.
He is, but I'm looking back at Kalento's accolades, and I mean, yes, he's won minors here and there, but the last time he won something huge was like back in 2014. I mean, top 8 at Worlds 2014, he won a DreamHack in 2014, but ever since then, he's just kind of been teetering along, winning smaller tournaments and getting further in smaller tournaments.
And that's the thing, though. We've talked about this over the last few weeks. Thing about Kalento is that he stopped competing for a while. He completely focused on his stream, and as you say, the small events, sure. But then when he started competing again, recent events, I believe it was China versus EU. Yep. He entered that, stomped the competition, had a really, really good result. Again, qualified for Spring Championships. That's a big deal. You can't deny he's one of the best players in the world. In fact, I think it was 2 or maybe even 3 years ago, back when I first started getting into competitive Hearthstone. I think at that point, it was pretty much just universally considered that he's the best Hearthstone player there is. I don't think he's gotten any worse.
Yeah, that's a good position to be in, certainly, if you're considered one of the best Hearthstone players around. But we're not going to be focusing on him just yet, but we will be diving into this first game. As we said, it is going to be a very important one for both of these teams. They have a chance to solidify themselves as possibly the best team in this group. A lot of reputation, a lot of pressure on their shoulders, but it's going to be Czech Cloud versus Nick Chipper to kick things off. And we're going to have Pirate Warrior against what looks like a Murloc-Adin, but it does have that Rallying Blade inclusion that we actually saw yesterday, Dan, from Jambray.
We did, yeah. It's been seen in a few decks, actually. As it happens, there is some Divine Shield popping around occasionally. Not as common as it used to be back before Standard Format even started with shielded mini-bots and things. But worst case scenario, it's an Eagle Horn Bow. It's a 3/2 for 3 mana. Fiery War Axe is grossly powerful, but Rallying Blade, actually not so bad either.
And of course, you can see Czech Cloud there with all his minions and his teammates as well.
Dan Sifka in the background eating a banana, as he's very well known for.
Hey, it's a really good way of keeping your energy up, to be honest.
Potassium?
Yeah, exactly. Like to be nice and energetic. Nice draw off the top for Nick Chipper as well. Exactly what you want to see as a Pirate Warrior.
Oh, and look at that. Even already trying to tilt Team Czech Republic. As you said before, So many 3-0s when it comes to these teams. They want to 3-0 this. Both teams, they don't just want to win. They want to stomp the competition if possible.
Yeah, as I said, they just want to assert dominance. They want to say, we are the best team. Going into Phase 2, they want other teams to be worried about them.
Right.
They want to be saying, oh my god, they didn't lose a series in their group going up against them. How on earth do we prepare against that?
I think specifically with Ukraine, if any team was to go up against them and not be worried, then they're probably foolish. Very foolish.
Possibility to coin out Hydrologist here is an awkward play for me. Yes, immediately you want to try and counter what's been put on the board by the Pirate Warrior. It's a natural instinct you have to get stuff on there, to be able to trade off, but you know it can be dealt with so easily. Things like upgrade can just ruin your day, and it also means your turn 2 then is really awkward as well.
I was wondering if it was a position where Czech Cloud actually just had to play the Hydrologist, but he agrees with you. He's going to wait. I guess Stonehill Defender looks okay against this board. Well, now it doesn't look okay against this board. He may just decide to coin out Rallying Blade, get rid of the Blood Cell Raider next turn, and then follow up with Stonehill Defender.
Captain Greenskin, an interesting inclusion as well from Nick Chipper. As you said, he has been known for playing kind of off-meta decks. I believe he played in an Open Cup recently and was playing things like N'Zoth Warrior to try and surprise his opponents. Right. Captain Greenskin has seen its inclusion here and there throughout Pirate Warrior. It's kind of been since Nguru came out and we lost Bash. Everyone's been trying to find that suitable replacement in the deck.
He's incredibly adept at playing aggro decks specifically, and Captain Greenskin, if you can hit an Arcanite Reaper or even a Fiery War Axe with it, it's such a strong tempo play. People originally started playing Naga Corsair after Mean Streets of Gadgetzan came out. Captain Greenskin does something very similar. Yeah, the stats are slightly worse, but if you can upgrade an Arcanite Reaper, then its effect is just horrible for the other team.
Unbearable.
Unbearable.
Somewhat
Let's
unbearable.
go with unbearable. That's probably the word I was searching for.
So now, potentially, are we seeing this Hydrologist come down? But it all seems a little bit slow for Czech Republic already. They do have the follow-up next turn of Pyromancer plus Equality. If everything does get a little bit scary, you can see them hovering over that combo as well, just talking to each other, saying, okay, we have got this. If there's too much damage on the board next turn, how can we negate as much damage as possible now, though? Is it a Stonehill Defender, or is it Hydrologist into perhaps a Noble Sacrifice? What do we need to do? What do you think they need to do, Dan?
You're right. The game is just about preventing this damage at this stage. While Pyromancer plus Equality is an option next turn, it's going to allow for a board reset. But by the time they get to play that, they're going to have taken another, what's that, 6, 7, 8 damage, something like that. Stonehill Defender is going to block 4. I think this play makes sense because of the follow-up with Wild Pyromancer Equality. It's going to just shut out 4 damage, and then there's the reset. The question is, what is Czech Cloud going to do after the reset?
Yeah, that entirely depends on what Nick Chipper plays following, which may well be a Captain Greenskin. And that's not something that he can easily deal with either. Do you choose? I think you just use Corcoran Elite here. It depends how worried you are about that turn 4 Pyromancer Equality, of course.
It doesn't... So while Pyromancer isn't that common in Paladins at the moment...
That's true.
I guess if you're concerned about it, you could just hit with the weapon, play War Axe just to not go too far in, but Corcoran Elite just looks like such a clean play. It uses up all of your mana, pushes the most damage. It just makes sense. Nick Chipper's going to be sad about this Equality Pyromancer, but Czech Cloud isn't actually putting himself on the board in the process.
No, it's going to just be a clean slate once again for Nick to most likely drop Greenskin, which is going to be an immediate threat that Czech needs to try and deal with. But instantly, this Paladin is on the back foot. They've not been able to stabilize. If they can somehow get to turn 6, Sunkeeper Tarim might be able to help out ever so slightly, just be a body in the way.
Yeah, just the fact that Sunkeeper Tarim's a 3/7 with Taunt actually is a very strong aspect of the card that people seem to not notice. Hydrologist, Noble Sacrifice can actually be very, very helpful in this matchup. Problem is, that weapon isn't really worth Noble sacrificing. It's just 3 damage, and Captain Greenskin's still going to sink his 5 damage in. Not to mention, Nick Chipper has a minion with charge in his hand, and the most important thing, Noble sacrifice wasn't even offered here.
True, but he does have another option. A second Hydrologist as a possibility. This time,
There we go.
he strikes the gold and can play it, and just about keep himself alive here. He doesn't know, of course, what's in Ukraine's hand. A Corcoran Elite certainly helps, though. I believe, actually, that is just going to about do it.
It is.
Because you can run the South Sea Deckhand into the Noble Sacrifice, and then you have plenty of damage, thanks to the Corcoran Elite off the top. So Ukraine continuing their fine form, and they are going to be 1-0 up here. They were able to beat Croatia 3-0. They were able to beat the Philippines 3-0. Are they going to be able to do the same to the giants that are across from them, the Czech Republic, who are also on 3-0 in the league as well? And just a lick of the lips, because the Pirate Warrior was so juicy there.
Raven will like that. That was an incredibly fast game from Ukraine. Nice start for them. As we've been saying, they won a 3-0, and I think winning a game that quickly for game 1, that definitely puts you in the mood to win 3-0.
And sometimes when you're going up against Paladin as a Pirate Warrior as well, it feels like a bit of a 50-50. Are they going to have that healing? And are they going to be able to get those taunts?
If they ever get there.
If they ever get there, exactly. And it has been a day of statistics, really, a day of 50-50s. And now we move on to game number 2.
Ooh.
And it's going to be a Rogue off. The Rogue versus Rogue. They both brought Rogue and Shaman, actually, interesting, and both deciding to go for Rogue as well.
I don't think we've seen much Rogue.
We haven't seen too much Rogue. I don't think we've actually seen... I think we saw one Miracle Rogue yesterday.
That is bizarre. If we haven't seen a Quest Rogue, and I don't remember seeing one either, that is bizarre, but I would expect this to be a Quest Rogue mirror.
And we said it about 50-50s. I mean, when it comes to Quest Rogue mirrors, like, that game's crazy. And statistically, Dan, did you know that 50% of casters are bad at Hearthstone?
Really? 50%?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get that from?
Or 1 and 2.
Okay.
It's him. Rogue versus Rogue, then. Possibly a Quest Rogue versus Quest Rogue. Maybe we're going to see Miracle
Hang
Rogue.
on a minute, Dan.
Oh, okay. Have you
All right,
just
hang
got
on a second.
Did it take you that long, really?
Why did you point at me?
Because you're terrible at Hearthstone. It's okay. Feels bad, man. In the chat for Falcone. Rest in pieces, everyone. But yes, we will move on now to Rogue versus Rogue. I have had this discussion actually with you quite a few times, Dan, where I say that I think Miracle Rogue is harder to play than Quest Rogue. And I'm gonna bring it up again.
We had this argument on stream yesterday.
We're gonna bring it up again. I think Quest Rogue is easier to play than Miracle Rogue. And I will go toe-to-toe with you here.
I think you're wrong. My argument, well, I don't think you're strictly wrong. My argument is that there is a higher skill ceiling to the Quest Rogue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of maths in working out exactly what order you play the cards, when do you use the Shadow Step. Something Sottel's been saying a lot recently is that Quest Rogue can sort of afford to skip the first 3 turns, and then because the mana that you get on the following turn is like the mana from the first few turns put together. Because you end up with so many free cards from the Shadow Step, sometimes holding onto your cards and then on turn 4 or 5 going, okay, Novice Engineer, Shadow Step, Novice Engineer, Shadow Step, Novice Engineer, can just end up being a better, more surprising sequence of plays.
It can. I think most pro players would probably agree with you, to be honest. I think more of the casual player would probably agree with me saying that Quest Rogue is just like, oh, it's so frustrating to play against. And I think that's where the frustration comes for a lot of people, because it seems like even if you play Quest Rogue badly, it still seems to pull off the victory.
Well, that's the thing. Like, sometimes the hand you get dealt is just so strong that there's no stopping you. Anyone can complete the quest by turn 4 with the right sequence of draws, with the correct Shadow Steps, Fireflies, what have you. And it's just not possible to win in that matchup.
Well, we will have the Quest Rogue versus Quest Rogue, the Caverns Rogue versus the Caverns Rogue, the whatever rogue you want to call it versus the whatever rogue you want to call it.
We're going to journey to the Crystal Core together. Well, we're not going together. Ukraine and Czech Republic are racing to the Crystal Core. Essentially, usually, first team to get there is going to win the game.
Of course, Firefly is always fantastic to have in your hand early on, because not only is it good because it provides you with that extra minion, but you can play it instead of the quest turn 1. A mistake that I think a lot of people actually make a mistake that I've probably made in the past is just jamming that quest immediately rather than just starting to get a little bit of a board presence.
Sometimes it's okay, though. It very much depends on the matchup. Obviously, Nyria, you've just thrown your pen down in anger. Obviously, Nyria decides to play the quest first. The reason for that is that this isn't really a matchup that's about board presence. There's no way of getting board presence in the mirror, and it doesn't really matter so much. All that matters is being the first to complete the quest. So what Nyria is doing is holding on to the Firefly, probably planning on playing it with Youthful Brewmaster later to keep as many resources in his hand as possible. Interesting thing I want to pick out is that Yara actually held on to both Preparation and Mimic Pod. So he is going to, at some point very, very early on in this game, probably prep that out and just try and get multiple copies of the same card. If you can get multiple Shadow Steps, you just win the game off that. Alternatively, he might just wait until turn 3, then play Mimic Pod, and then prep out the quest later, which can be devastating for your opponent if you can play the quest reward for 2 mana and then play some 1 mana cards.
This is also another reason why Nyria waited to play the Firefly, because turn 2, he can play both of those elementals. But I guess it kind of did the same thing. He could have just played the second one after playing the quest. He didn't really give me time to try and explain my reasoning behind it, but it's fine. I can understand now. You've got the Shadow Step, you've got the Brewmaster. You can start to get this quest on the go. Double Vanish coming out from Czech Republic.
Not the card you want to duplicate, really.
Not really.
Vanishing your opponent's minions only gets them closer to completing the quest. I just want to say, Dan, just in support of you for a second, it would have worked out better for Nyria if he did play the Firefly.
Would have got 1 extra damage, right?
He would have had 1 extra damage in.
I'm not crazy.
How relevant that is in this matchup, again, I don't know. Damage is sort of calculated in chunks of 5.
Usually, yeah.
But, you know, sometimes you can deal the first 5 damage with a few weapon swings, and maybe that damage will count. Who knows? If Ukraine ever won off lethal, then you'll have your day.
But I wouldn't rub it in any players' faces, to be honest, because
I would on your behalf.
There's a reason they are pro players, and there is always reasoning behind these decisions. Tar Creeper is a possibility here. Now, this is an interesting inclusion in the deck. It's something that's kind of been in and out of Quest Rogue, hasn't it, Dan? Right,
so Tar Creeper is one of the more recent changes. I say more recent, it's been around for 2 or 3 weeks now. It sort of came in with Tolvir Stoneshaper, another card that's been included. The sole reason that these cards are really, really good against aggro, and Quest Rogue used to suck against aggro. But Tar Creeper, obviously very strong against aggro, obvious reasons. It's a taunt, it's got 5 health, it's got 3 attack on your opponent's turn, it can put a stop to things. Tolvir Stoneshaper, a card that requires an elemental to get the Divine Shield, also very strong against aggro. And Tar Creeper can set up the Tolvir Stoneshaper, so there's a lot of synergy there.
So Nyria actually trying to work out what's the best order of play here. He's got his possibility of putting the second Flame Elemental on the board, also has the Shadow Step, also has the Ferryman as well. So he has a possibility of completing this quest next turn, and he is going to decide to do it nice and early.
Yeah, there was no way he was leaving that Flame Elemental on the board, but next turn he can play Flame Elemental, Gadgetzan Ferryman, Flame Elemental, and then the following turn he will be able to complete the quest. Looking on the other side, not much progress has been made. In fact, not any progress has been made, as I don't believe that Yara's played a single minion yet. That would be the first.
I guess the positive thing for Czech Republic is the fact that that Brewmaster is still on the board. It means it's something they can trade the Ignis Elemental into and gain more Elementals. That's one of the most frustrating things about the Ignis Elemental, is when you put it on the board and you just can't trade it off. It just doesn't die, it just sits there.
Especially against a class like Mage, where they don't really need to put anything on the board to beat you, they just leave it there. It's more frustrating when you play it against a Priest and they play Potion of Madness and then Shadow Word Paint it or something and they get the Flame Elementals. I've been on the nasty side of that before, where I've been the Priest. Feels good when you do it on that side. But yeah, Yara not feeling good about this turn whatsoever. Those Vanishes are looking utterly useless. And in 2 turns' time, Nyria is going to finish that quest.
So I suppose the consideration for him right now is, am I coining out this shard for any reason whatsoever? It looks like the decision is no in the end, but it was, of course, worth considering. Another Glacial Shard is actually massive for Nyria here, because it means he can play the Elemental, he can bounce it back, he can complete the quest, and then he can freeze the Ignis Elemental, keeping his Brewmaster alive and being able to jam an extra 3 damage to face, and also having another minion possibly alive for when they all turn into 5/5.
This play is just so strong. Quest Rogues don't run board clears apart from Vanish, which isn't really a board clear, and it can't be played on turn 4 unless Czech Republic had a preparation. They've already used the preparation, so it's unlikely they have their preparation. So Yara can deal with one minion. Maybe he can freeze another with the Glacial Shard, but that's about it. He is looking at taking at least 10 damage next turn, if not more.
Stone Touch Ball doesn't really help too much, to be honest.
No, not just yet, it doesn't. No.
It means he can not take the extra 2 damage if he wants to go down that route, if he thinks this is going to be that close to the wire. However, he's just going to be wanting to try and complete this quest himself. It might just have to be dropping the Firefly, to be honest.
I like the shard there. And yeah, okay, I agree with the Firefly too. Is he going to coin out the Flame Elemental? Just go as wide as possible?
I think he needs the coin for the Vanish next turn as a backup, to be honest.
You're right. The sad thing is, even with the Vanish next turn, Maria just hits a hand of cheap 5/5s that he can just put out on the board again.
I guess they're not ridiculously cheap, because he's only going to have one drop, and then he's got the Brewmaster and the Ferryman, which are just awkward to play around. You'd have to play one of them first. Deckhand helps, though.
This is where it gets scary, though. So okay, Narea plays the quest reward. I think he just hits 10 damage into the face. There's no risk whatsoever, really, of Czech Republic completing the quest, so there's no reason to trade.
Yeah, and now he has Deckhand, plus Bounce Backs, plus Patches.
Plus Patches comes out too, and that's where it just gets a little bit silly.
Yeah, that's where the Vanish, unfortunately, is going to punish them. If there was no Pirate in the hand, if the Deckhand wasn't there, then maybe it would have worked out.
The problem is there are so many charge minions in this deck. You've got 2 Stone to Spore, 2 Stealthy Deckhand, there's 1 Patches. I mean, 5 out of 30 cards is actually quite a high percentage. So it's quite unlikely that Vanish ever does pay off, but Yara is backed into a corner here. He doesn't have much choice. He's got to do something.
I guess the only alternative is if he can somehow find a way to complete this quest and do it, if he had had a preparation as well and been able to trade efficiently somehow and keep alive, keep the board presence.
Just an update on that, though. They've only played 1 copy of all minions.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. If there was a way.
Quest progress is 1 out of 4. It still says Igneous Elemental because that was the first minion that was played. Yeah, okay, he can actually play 3 Flame Elementals this turn, but that's not quite good enough to complete the quest. He can take down one of these 5/5s if he doesn't want to go the Vanish route, but then there's still at least 10 damage hitting you in the face next turn, and as we can see, it's more than 10 damage. It's actually at least 20.
Yeah, plenty of damage, and there was a little smirk as well from Naria down, and Ukraine, they kind of know that Czech Republic's backs are against the wall right now, and he's thinking, well, they've only played 1 minion, how on earth are they going to be able to do so? It looks like they're not going to go down the Vanish route. They are actually just going to try and negate as much damage as possible, try and stay alive on board, and hope that there is no immediate damage coming from the hand of Ukraine. However, we know there is. That extra 5 damage is available from the Deckhand, plus Patches just to rub salt in the wounds. And in the end, Dan, that extra 1 damage from the start of the game isn't going to matter. This game is going to be finished off.
Yeah, Naria has more than enough damage to take this one away. As this is one of the most disgusting things Quest Road can do is the preparation into Quest and then play other cards thing. Another one is just after Quest complete, Deckhand into Patches. If you thought Salty Deckhand into Patches was bad back in the Pirate Warrior dominance days, look at it in Quest Rogue.
An absolutely filthy game for the Ukrainian side, and they are 2-0 up now. Even closer to getting another 3-0. It would actually be fantastic if they were to 3-0 3 of their 4 opponents. That would be very impressive. And as I said, it's just asserting that dominance and just striking fear into the eyes of your possible opposition in the next stage.
They want to win the group. And they're making very good strides towards doing so. 2 very quick games. Next up, it's going to be a Mage Mirror. So not only are they just winning any old game, it looks like Ukraine are going to be just going through mirror matches to really prove their dominance. They can't just win favored matchups, they're going to be winning mirrors as well. But their opponent is now Stansifka. Again, 1 win away from qualifying to Shanghai. This guy has a lot of his own achievements. Probably a bit of a shame he doesn't get to match up against Kalento and get his revenge for Kalento kicking him out of HCT Spring Championships. But nonetheless, Stansifka has everything to prove today.
Yeah, I mean, he got top 4 at DreamHack Valencia recently, I think, or maybe last year or a couple of years ago. So, you know Stansifka, everyone knows him. if anyone can get back into this, then it's probably him. Dr. Hippie, we already touched upon how amazing this guy did last year. 2nd place in the 2016 World Championships. Not many people can say that, Falcone, but he can.
Yeah, and he's competed in all sorts of other things as well. He's competed in Kingwin for Charity, WCA. He makes the rounds. He's not one of these players that got 2nd place in champs and then disappeared. He's a competitive player, and he's here representing Team Ukraine today.
Mage versus Mage, then. Any initial thoughts for you? Anything that you're expecting? Discover Mage has kind of been the popularized variant over the past few weeks, but then we've now seen a lot of Secret Mage come into Edition as well.
I feel as though it's been mostly Discover Mage over the last few days as well, and it looks like Stansifka straight away, that's the deck he's playing. Dr. Hippie, though, he is playing the Secret Mage, and I expected this week that we'd see more Secret Mage than Discover Mage. I've been proved wrong so far, though it's going to be very good to see this matchup. Stansifka, incredibly happy about this opening.
Well, this is what I was having a chat with Neil about. He was asking, how often do you draw Mana Worm when you play Discover Mage, Dan? And I was like, quite a lot, actually. And he's like, yeah, that's why you have success with it. Because it is absolutely insane. If you can get the Mana Worm into Arcanologist, into Frostbolt, you can just spiral out of control. For Dr. Hippie, I mean, it's not looking too shabby for him either. A Babbling Book to start off with is always fantastic. It gets that extra card into your hand. You never know what it might be as well. Instead, though, he's saying, no, I want to play the race game. I want a Mana Worm of my own, and he's rewarded for his full mulligan there.
Yeah, Mana Worms on both sides. 2 Mana Worms on one side, but, nice 2 drops on the other side. Both of these players have drawn exceptionally well, it has to be said.
So if you're scared of Frostbolt, you don't even consider a coin Sorcerer's Apprentice or anything like that. If you could see the opposing hand, you might be tempted to do that because you know how well it trades, but I think it's too much of a risk. Plus, you do have the coin in the hand, which will boost that Mana Worm up next turn if you were coining something out.
Yeah, I think playing Mana Worm is just fine. If Stansifka has a way of dealing with it, that's okay, big deal. Then you drop the Sorcerer's Apprentice. As it happens, he doesn't, and Dr. Hippie is maybe the Mana Worm that gets out of control. The problem Dr. Hippie is facing with this hand is that he doesn't have any secrets. So he's got the Medivh's Valet, he's got the Cabal Crystal Runner, he's got the secret synergy cards, but no secrets.
Whereas on the other side, Arcanologist will of course draw a secret, an Ice Block as well. Of course, that is the inclusion.
My goodness.
There's a secret that you were talking about though, Dan, but is it good to play on turn 2? That's my question for you, because it seems like playing Mirror Entity early on sometimes doesn't have that tempo swing that you might get, for example, than playing on turn 5.
Okay, so I agree with you. The later into the game, the riskier it gets, because it's possible that Stansifka holds onto a card like the Babbling Book and just waits for a secret and then is able to test for that. I really like this play because it allows you to buff up the Mana Worm so that not only can it trade away with the first Mana Worm, but it forces the ping from Stansifka here, because otherwise he's going to lose the Arcanologist as well. Unfortunately for Dr. Hippie, Stansifka has Mana Worm into ping as the play, which is going to nicely deal with this Mana Worm. But then Dr. Hippie gets a second Mana Worm of his own, and I don't think he's complaining about that Mirror Entity.
No, it's not too bad. I mean, you're completely right. Trying to force out that ping, it would have been nice if it was only the ping, because then it would have the follow-up of Medivh's Valet with the secret still in play. There is the case now for Czech Republic that they need to consider as to what this secret is. Because you're playing against Secret Mage, usually it's Mirror Entity or Counterspell. The best way to test for it is probably just playing Mana Worm.
Yeah, Mana Worm, although it's a stupidly strong card played on turn 1, it's not one of the highest value cards in the deck. It's no risk whatsoever to just go ahead and play that. Now he knows he's going to just go ahead, ping the Mana Worm, and the ball is very much in Dr. Hippie's court. It's his job to deal with this board, and if he doesn't, he's going to be in a world of pain.
So options for Dr. Hippie then. Arcane Intellect would boost his Mana Worm up to... Oh, well, now he can do a trade if he wants to with the Arcane Intellect. Counterspell has a possibility to do that as well, but then he is just leaving a Mana Worm on the board. Of course, if you didn't want to play anything, you could just ping off as well, but that doesn't feel quite as good, to be honest.
Arcane Intellect's not bad either. Arcane Intellect to trade with the Arcanologist.
Yeah, that was my original line. That's what I said. Was kind of nice. You could draw, just get more cards in your hand, get a card advantage. But I guess Counterspell, he's hoping for a little bit more of a tempo play. Hope to try and catch out the Czech Republic.
Yeah, so the best thing about that play is that if there is no spell on the other side, Medivh's Valet is going to come down and be able to get rid of the Mana Worm along with Cabal Crystal Runner, which is now 2 mana. 2 mana 5/5s tend to be okay.
Yeah, Shaman taught us that a while ago, didn't
Shaman did teach us that, yeah. They also taught us that 0 mana 5/5s were good too, though Dr. Hippie doesn't really have the freedom to force that situation. Unfortunately for Dr. Hippie, I think there's almost definitely going to be at least one spell from Stansifka this turn. I'd be very surprised if they don't play any of these.
It depends what they're testing for. If they want to test for Mirror Entity, they naturally just play the Archaeologist first. Instead, they are just going to outright play that Ice Block, and it is just going to get absolutely obliterated off the board. No Ice Block for you, Sunshine. But it does mean that there's no Medivh's Valet possibility.
That's kind of strange. Ice Block is one of the reasons that the Discover Mages has a very good shot in this matchup. So Dr. Hippie can eventually pop the Ice Block, and then Stansifka can come back and use a defensive Alexstrasza, buying him a few more turns. I'm a little surprised that he was willing to get rid of the Ice Block. Then again, I don't think he had much of a choice. You don't want to lose a Fireball, and he needs the card draw from Arcane Intellect.
Yeah, he obviously valued the Arcane Intellect play more, saying that card draw is going to come into the effect later. If I'm going to win this game, it's not going to come down to that Ice Block.
So this tells me that he's going to rely a lot on tempo to win this game, rather than late game just burning Ukraine out. Ukraine are going to have a very good turn here, whichever way they go with it. I imagine Arcanologist and Cabal Crystal Runner looks like the best bet. You're just playing Arcanologist, it does its job, it doesn't matter if that gets destroyed. And then Crystal Runner's a 5/5.
It's a 5/5 on the board. We know it can be dealt with by that Fireball. I think this game just basically summarizes the Hearthstone meta at the moment, or at least currently in the past couple of weeks. We've had that back and forth battle of Discover Mage versus Secret Mage, which is more successful, which is stronger on ladder, which would I rather be playing, which card needs to be tweaked here and there, and there's a second Ice Block. So that might explain a little bit why the Ice Block was so happy to just be thrown away. Some decks have just been running the 1, some are running the 2.
I think the Discover Mages usually run 2, and Stansifka would have had a good shot at getting it with the Arcanologist anyway. I'm expecting he runs Ice Barrier as well. But you're right, like a lot of people right now would consider Mage just the strongest, most versatile class in Hearthstone because of this. It's got these 2 decks, these 2 leading archetypes for the Mage class, and also Quest Mage is around, Freeze Mage is still around.
I was going to say, don't let George C hear you say that these 2 are the leading mages at the moment. He wouldn't be happy, would he?
Sorry, George.
He might tweet you.
He might. He was completely in the right there. I said, I thought I saw a line for him. I was wrong. So apologies, public apologies to George C. Why would I ever try and outthink him when it comes to Freeze Mage?
I'm not apologizing for nothing. He still burnt that horse picture. I'm still mad. Trades now can be efficient thanks to that counterspell coming off the top from the Arcanologist. Glyph for 1 mana seems pretty nice though. You got a really good turn actually here if you're Dr. Hippie. You can Mirror Entity first if you want, you can Glyph first. You of course want to test for that counterspell, so Glyph seems like the best option. I would have thought because it's the cheapest. Because that Mirror Entity can discount your Crystal Runner as well, and you can follow it up with a Medivh's Valet. And that's just a really juicy turn, Dan.
Yeah, do you know what? It doesn't feel good wasting a Glyph because it's probably the best Mage card right now. But I think with this hand, it was the best one to throw away. Mirror Entity with Medivh's Valet and Cabal Crystal Runner is just too strong this turn to give up. And you can't get rid of your card draw again. We saw that with Stansifka earlier. It's just so important in this deck to not just run out of stuff to do. I imagine now that we will see Mirror Entity plus Cabal Crystal Runner. Whether we see Medivh's Valet or a ping, I'm not sure. In fact, we might just see... I don't know. Don't worry. I was going to say something silly.
Yeah, I mean, Medivh's Valet and ping, I guess, essentially do the same thing, except you put a body on.
Yeah, it's not possible, though. That's what I was going to say that was silly. If he's going to play Medivh's Valet, he needs to play Mirror Entity first, and then he's run out of mana for the ping.
Yeah, well, that's why he would do either of the 2.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I mean, I think I liked playing the Medivh's Valet that turn because you may not get value out of it now. There may be a minion that comes onto the board, and you never get that value.
Yeah, it's...
A lot of these Secret Mages haven't been running Ice Block.
Yeah, it's risky.
Ice Block is the one secret that allows you to pretty much guarantee that value. But we do have an Arcane Intellect to refill the hand of Dr. Hippie, and he's in a relatively comfortable position, just jamming down a 5/5 onto the board.
So I'm right in thinking this is the second mirror entity, right?
You are correct, Falcone.
And there's been one counterspell.
Correct.
Thank you. It's like a quiz show all of a sudden.
It is. You
Right.
get 2 points.
So eventually, Dr. Hippie will draw the counterspell and will be able to use Medusa's Valet. The problem with that sentence is the word eventually. How long can you hold on to this 2-mana minion for?
As long as he wants, I guess, but it's just going to be sat there doing nothing. He's just going to feel bad. On the other side, though, a somewhat awkward turn for Stancifka here.
Next turn will be much less awkward. Once he can play those Firelands portals, then he's going to be in a fantastic spot. He's going to just restock his hand here. I like this a lot. Accepting he's going to take 5 damage, but it's also not the end of the world just yet.
But again, he was valuing his card draw over the ice block there because he didn't know that wasn't a counterspell.
Yeah.
He had no idea, and he was saying, actually, we are going to throw away our second ice block if this is a counterspell. We just want the card draw. We've got so much damage. Look at the amount of damage they have in their hand.
Yeah, that's what the Discover Mage does. Good spot there on the willing to sacrifice the ice block. Unfortunately now, Dr. Hippie
Does get value.
he does get value, but he's got Kirin to a Mage, which doesn't get value. So he's kind of getting a little bit of both. Gonna just have to go ahead and play that as a 3-mana 4/3. Risky though. Willing to lose out on his Medusa's Valet value again. I guess really, what's 3 damage to the face? He'd rather save it and try and get 3 damage to a minion later.
So is there a line of play now here for Czech Republic where they can just ignore this board and outrace them with damage, having an ice block in play? They could Firelands Portal face, get them down to 23 if they wanted. Follow up with a double Fireball that gets them down to 11. Unfortunately, that's not enough to have a Pyroblast in play after the ice block is popped from turn 9. But they might have a Medusa's Valet. So there is a possibility, but it might not be enough.
Yeah, so I've just kind of done it the simpler way and just counted damage. We got 2 Fireballs, that's 12, 2 Firelands Portals, that's another 10, and Pyroblast, that's another 10, 32. But you're right, Ice Block makes it complicated. I think that it just makes more sense to trade, control the board. I think if you're Stancifka, you're going to expect to have more resources, more late game value. Discover Mage does just have more stuff than Secret Mage. Secret Mage is more all in. So I like Stancifka's attempt to play the long game at the moment. If he picks up an Alexstrasza, things change. Okay, Dr. Hippie losing the Primordial Glyph earlier. No worries, says Babbling Book. Here you go, I got a spare.
Dr. Hippie taking some good luck from the man he lost to at the World Championships, the Paveling Book. He's going to provide him with a Primordial Glyph. Unfortunately, Dan, those aren't great options.
No, the Hippie Book into the Hippie Glyph. It didn't actually pay off.
I guess the Flame Gazer does provide a minion that you can plop onto the board, as well as a route of clearing the opposition board as well, just to keep up this pressure. It's not a huge amount of pressure, but it's enough that may have Czech Republic ever so slightly worried.
Relevant as well that he was able to get rid of the minion without using up the Frostbolt. If he picks up another secret, then it's like he's got 2 Frostbolts in hand, but that's still only a possibility. There should be a counterspell left in the deck, and that's probably it. Stancifka just doing what he can to control this board, fireballing something, playing his second Medusa's Valet. He's managed to play both Medusa's Valet to clear minions.
And that's the beauty of having that ice block, right?
So you could argue that this Secret Mage is doing better than the actual Secret Mage, but there's the counterspell, and here comes the reverse Medusa's Valet.
But unfortunately for Dr. Hippie, I mean, those Firelands portals are just going to be absolutely massive. They are going to be able to swing this game so heavily back into the favor of Stancifka and Czech Republic here.
Yeah,
but it depends what he gets, because actually this Firelands portal is going to be counterspelled, Dan. He's going to test for Mirror Entity first, but we've already seen 2 of those, so Holy Smite might be the best pick here, actually.
Arcanologist, not bad either.
I prefer Holy Smite because you can get rid of the counterspell.
Well, I'm thinking if he doesn't care about using the second ice barrier, then he could just use Arcanologist, thin out his deck by grabbing the ice barrier, and then just waste that, and then he won't be wasting draws during Arcanologist later. He went with your play. He decided to just use this Cabal Courier to waste the counterspell. I like it. And now those Firelands portals that you mentioned earlier, they're just going to wreak havoc on Dr. Hippie, who's picked up more burn damage. but it's not enough. That's 9 damage in hand, 10 with the ping, 13 including the board. He's still 5 damage off popping the block.
Yeah, this is where it just becomes a bit of a struggle for Dr. Hippie and becomes somewhat of a race, to be honest. He needs to just hope that he can put the damage to face and win this one, but the fact that Czech Republic have the option of the Firelands portals, the Pyroblast to follow up as well, they're in a relatively comfortable position. Dr. Hippie now thinking, do I need to Frostbolt this courier off the board and then save this Fireball? Does the Fireball just go to face now? To be honest, I think he might have to just Frostbolt this courier. Because in his eyes, he's thinking that's a potential 3 damage every turn.
Okay, starting with fireballing the face. I think that happens every time, so there's no reason to hold off on that. I guess he could just hold on to the Frostbolt. Problem is, Stancifka's been holding on to these Firelands portals for so long. I imagine someone on Team Ukraine knows that at least one of those is a Firelands portal. If they've been hand tracking, and if they've been afraid of the Firelands portal, then they'll have been expecting it for quite some time.
There's Alex Strassen as well.
Now.
I actually like it as a defensive option, to be honest, Dan. I like using a Firelands portal now, followed up by an Alex Strassen next turn as a defensive if he does get you down.
It's very interesting. See, I saw Alex Strassen and gut reaction told me, yeah, let's set Dr. Hippie to 15 and win the game in 2 turns. But I think you're right. Stancifka has run Dr. Hippie completely out of resources. If he can control this board with the Firelands portal and with the trade, now let Dr. Hippie use a little bit more burn damage. Maybe he could even wait for the Ice Bolt to get popped, then play the defensive Alex Strassen. It means that as long as Stancifka keeps control of this board, he never loses the game.
So I think either option is viable. I think either option is probably a winning play, to be honest, because Ukraine are going to struggle to deal with it.
Would you say Alex Strassen is a winning card?
Yeah. Isn't that what you said at the start of the game as well? You were like, if they draw Alex Strassen, they're going to be in a very comfortable position.
Those words may have crossed my lips.
So Alex Strassen is going to be used as an aggressive option.
Goes with my gut.
Now, if a Fireball comes off, which it doesn't, so it doesn't matter, so it doesn't even need to think about it. I was going to say they could Fireball face and be able to pop the block, as well as freeze Alex Strassen, and then there was a possibility of winning this one. However, they are just going to have to freeze now and do what they can to try and stay alive. They're not dead just yet, but things are looking grim. I don't think we're going to see the 3-0, Dan.
Scary thought, that, with the Fireball, actually. The fact that that was even a possibility is... it does bring that play into question. I have to admit, I prefer your defensive option. Haven't given it some more thought. I don't think there's any way back from that for Dr. Hippie, from the defensive play. Now, Stancifka with the Glyph. Hardly seems necessary. He may just Pyroblast Dr. Hippie's face.
Why not?
Then again,
I suppose you could Firelands portal in case you draw something, you summon something significant like a taunt that might just help out.
Yeah, it also puts a body on the board, so that's probably better actually.
Yeah, you've got the follow-up of Pyroblast next turn. There's a lot of thought going into this. I think it's more simple than it's being made out to be.
I think if you play the portal, you start with the Glyph, right?
I guess their worry is, I mean, what if there was another Alex Strassen in their deck? We know that Secret Mage doesn't really run it.
Yeah. I doubt that Stancifka's afraid of that. It's always a possibility. These decks are by no means refined, and someone may do something funny like that, but this looks very much locked down to me. What does Alex Strassen even do now? It would heal Ukraine later, but then he'd still need to deal with the Alex Strassen that's staring him down on the board. Another Frostbolt will allow him to freeze Alex Strassen for one more turn. So
just delaying the inevitable, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's funny, now Stancifka's going with the controlling the board route, because he actually used Firelands Portal on a minion there, rather than set up the 2-turn lethal. So curious as to the change in strategy. Maybe he realized he was being a bit rash earlier?
Potentially a charge minion would win them the game. No, not going to be one.
That card could win the game, though.
I mean, they've already won the game, unfortunately. There's no way back into this.
I don't mind gaining 2 armor every turn. Well, you say there's no way back, but Yogg-Saron does still exist.
I mean,
why?
and I suppose
why the one game that I don't get to cast? Why?
Frostbolt is plopped out by the Babbling Book. It's not going to be enough to save the man who finished second at the World Championships in 2016. Instead, we are going to see Czech Republic put one on the board. It's going to be 2-1. It isn't going to be the 3-0 dream that Ukraine had hoped for.
The man that finished second. Wow, Dan. Too soon. Too soon.
I mean, I think that's a great achievement, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with being second, Dan.
Well, technically, he was actually joint 5th because Hoy was first, and then the top 4 qualified.
Stanisivka?
No.
However, he didn't actually qualify for anything.
He did not.
But he's able to gain somewhat of happiness, regain that smile, and he is going to put a win on the board for his team. There we have it. We will now have the seats switched of the Czech Republic, and they are still quite rightly in this series. We're going to be moving on to game number 4. Pats on the back saying, come on, you got this, bro.
As Stanisivka in the background, I don't know if you caught it there, as Stanisivka began eating his next banana.
How many bananas is that now? That's at least 2 on stream.
Yeah, he was in an interview at HCT where they asked him, how many bananas do you eat? And the answer was a lot of bananas. Looks like it was the whole team eating them, though, so maybe that's a key to being good at Hearthstone. Maybe I should start eating more bananas.
Maybe that's something that he brought to the team, something that he brings to the table. I mean, every player, we've spoken about it, has that different role in the team.
Kalento he makes the decisions, you know. Dr. Hippie brings nothing, apparently. What was Nick Chipper brings preparation. But for Team Czech Republic, Stanisivka brings bananas.
I can't believe you just said Dr. Hippie brings nothing.
That's what Nyria said. I was just repeating Nyria's words.
He's brutal as well. But game number 4 then, Kalento is going to be on the Paladin, and he's going to be going up against the Hunter. Interesting to see that inclusion. Hunter chose over Priest. I mean, what's your thoughts about Hunter in its current state, Dan?
Hunter's okay. I'd say bottom 3, though, in terms of classes. We're in a unique position in Hearthstone here. I think it is pretty unique, this meta, where almost every class is playable. It's just the Warlock. We do pick on Warlock a lot.
We do.
But the fact that it's the only one that's not seeing any play at the moment is quite spectacular, because when I think class number 8, I think of the Shaman, which has seen play. Then I think of the Hunter, which has also been seeing play. So it's a very diverse meta right now, and Hunter had some great performances at HCT.
It did, and it's a shame, to be honest, for Warlock to fall out of favor. It was where Hunter was before Angora, though, let's be honest. Hunter is now, he's happy.
Yeah.
He's saying, well, at least it's the Warlock down there, it's not me instead.
And it's where Priest was before Draconid Operative appeared. And
yeah, Dragon Priest certainly helped put Priest back on the map. But Hunter versus Paladin, natural instincts. Before we even know the decks, I know this is slightly hard, but is there any favorites you would have just on the whim? Hunter versus Paladin.
Which one is Kalento playing?
You just think Kalento wins this one outright because of his prestigious history?
I just think because he's Kalento. I think it's a fair assessment to make.
I think that is a very fair assessment. However, there is a Hungry Crab in the deck of the Hunter, and there is a Murloc in the hand of Kalento.
Is it too late to switch sides?
Nope.
Great. All right, so Pokravac is going to win this game. Hungry Crab, not... Well, so when I think Hunter techs, I think Galactic Crawler first, but Hungry Crab, it's still a beast. It still has synergy with Kill Command. It's not a horrible 1-drop. It's a 1-mana 1/2. It's just sort of half of what Firefly is in its own way. And it's going to do some work here.
It is, but when, I guess, is the good question. Kindly Grandmother being picked up is massive because you don't really want to be playing Scavenging Hyena. You are just going to save this Hungry Crab, so you're doing nothing turn 1. I guess that's the only downside. You are always going to keep a Hungry Crab because you know it's going to gain value at some point. However, Kalento not having any of those early game Murlocs, so no value is going to be had just yet. So kindly, that's why Kindly Grandmother is so big, because he can actually get something on the board that matters.
Now, I don't recall the exact list, but Kalento did play Murloc Paladin at HCT last weekend. Obviously, he had a lot of success with that deck. He's very, very good at playing Paladin generally. I think maybe week 1 of the Hearthstone Global Games even, he was playing some weird elemental shaman with the Grind Street hand buffing cards. I think Paladin is one of Kalento's favorite classes, and it's one that we've seen a lot of success from him with.
Hasn't drawn any of his early game though, Dan. And we know, of course, that this Control Paladin or the Controller Murloc-a-din, or whatever anyone wants to call it these days.
I just played it safe, called it Murloc Paladin.
Murloc Paladin works. I like Murloc-a-din. I think that works better.
Okay.
Rolls off the tongue.
Murloc-a-din.
The tongue.
Lockadin.
If you're cooking, it rolls off the tongue. Or it could roll off your tongue as well.
Lockading.
Rat Pack isn't my favorite 3-drop in the world. It's nice to have a follow-up of Houndmaster as well, but Houndmaster could also be great onto the Kindly Grandmother. But now do you think, in your opinion, that Ukraine and Kalento here can stabilize because of the incredible late game that the Paladin can offer?
Yeah, I mean, there's a Tyrion Fordering in hand. That's pretty much answers your question, right? Tyrion Fordering on its own is an insanely strong card. I don't know if he runs Primordial Drake, but that's another late game stabilization card. I'm looking at this Rat Pack here. I know you said you're not a huge fan, but if Houndmaster does go on the Rat Pack, the thing is, when it dies, it then summons 4 rats.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm not a fan of it as a naked drop.
Right.
But if it does have the follow-up, then yeah, it's pretty fantastic. There are consecrations, however.
I imagine the idea when the card came out is because it came out in Gadget San, in the set that had all the hand buffing cards. I imagine the idea was to buff the Rat Pack before you put it on the board.
Of course.
That didn't end up being popular. However, the good old Houndmaster is popular. Unfortunately for Pokravac, Consecration is going to prevent that from ever happening. Now there's just a few rats with some jewels on the board. Crackling Razormaw plus Scavenging Hyena could be a play here. Houndmaster also still looking pretty solid.
Yeah, I think I prefer Houndmaster. I think Razormaw plus Hyena is too weak. I prefer Hyena to be played when you are going to be trading off beasts and when they are going to be dying, so you can guarantee that buff so you aren't punished by the likes of another Consecration, which of course I'm only saying because I can see it.
Yeah, it's hard for Pokravac to want to play around a second Consecration. Usually when you've seen one card like that early, chances of probability, you don't expect the second one to be there already. I agree with you though, I prefer the Houndmaster. It puts a lot of pressure on the board. I mean, it puts 6 extra damage on the board, right? And a True Silver Champion's only going to deal with 3 of that damage. Consecration, only going to deal with the 1/1. It's put Pokravac in a dominating position so far.
Kalento's still just trying to negate as much damage as possible, then does have the True Silver to work with. As soon as one of these Murlocs comes down, that crab is just going to nom down on it. I guess it's even better if, for example, a Spike Rich Steed is played onto a Murloc, then you get even more value out of the Hungry Crab.
Yeah, that's something that Kalento may consider playing around even, I'm not sure, but it's devastating when that happens, for certain. I think Hungry Crab's probably going to come down at the first opportunity. It's only a 1-mana card. I don't know how greedy Pokravac can afford to be with it. Obviously, it doesn't come down just yet. I keep looking back at the Scavenging Hyena and wondering if that's ever going to get its day. Knife Juggler, not a common card in Hunter.
No, but you can always understand, yeah, you can always understand why. I mean, combined with Unleash the Hounds, it still has that absolutely devastating effect. Of course, combined with Rat Pack, it can have a devastating effect as well. So plenty of things that can synergize well with it. It is going to be the choice of the Razormaw, which, yeah, I understand what you're saying. The Hyena, when's it going to see play? At the moment, there's no minions to trade into, so there's no point of putting that on the board. It is going to be a choice of Taunt, Poison, or +1/+1, and the Volcanic Might is chosen just to make one of those little rats ever so slightly bigger.
Looks like Kalento sweating a little bit as well as these big rats are chipping away at his health. He's got a Consecration, which is still only going to deal with 2 minions. Yeah, he could play True Silver Champion as well. But then that's both of his Consecrations gone. I wonder if there's a better play from him here.
So what I'm seeing is him consecrating this. He goes down to, what, 14 HP. Then next turn, he's probably going to play some Murlocs, but by that time, he may already be down to 9 HP. The Hungry Crab is just going to ruin his day completely, along with Knife Juggler. I mean, this is a really good position for Czech Republic, and Kalento in such an awkward spot, purely because he didn't draw any of those Murlocs early on. I mean, yeah, you could say that if he had drawn them, he may have been in an awkward position anyway because of the Hungry Crab, but that Tyrion may not even see play at this rate.
Yeah, this is worse than if he had drawn Murlocs for certain, because if he had drawn Murlocs, sure, the Hungry Crab would have already gone down. But the problem is, it's still going to come down and ruin Kalento's day, but it's going to do it later. So not only has he failed to establish early board presence, but his later game board presence is going to be stopped by the Hungry Crab as well. It's not nice for him.
So here, do you value weaving in the hero power more so than getting the value out of possibly a Hyena into Houndmaster combo here?
You don't need to play around Consecration anymore.
I honestly really like just putting 3 damage into the face, using your hero power and putting maybe a Houndmaster or a Knife Juggler and Hyena onto the board. Because as you're right, you don't have to play around Consecration, you're getting that extra damage into the face, and you're kind of moving closer and closer to winning this one. And tying the series up as well.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. Like, there's no Primordial Drake coming out just yet. Finja, the Flying Star, way too slow in this game to do anything. Yeah, it dodges the Hungry Crab, but you play Finja here, you're taking 9 damage. 11 if we're counting the Houndmaster that Kalento can't actually see.
Exactly. Kalento needs to be picking up Noble Sacrifice off one of these Hydrologists to stay alive.
Yeah, and that's the only way he stays alive. Well, in his eyes, maybe he could play Rockpool Hunter, Gentle Megasaur, and give it Torn. That's such a push, though. I agree, Hydrologist into Noble Sacrifice is better, safer, but not safe.
So Hydrologist first, search for one of those Noble Sacks.
Didn't get it.
No, he definitely didn't. Redemption not going to really be helpful right now. Might have been helpful later on. He's going to look again.
No!
Still not there.
Again! It's a disaster. It probably doesn't matter too much, as it doesn't look like Kalento was ever going to stabilize anyway, but... Oh, wow. The fact that neither adapt got him the card that he needed, he's just going to go wide with Murlocs. Hope that Pokravac is
Play the Hungry Crab.
lacking this 2 damage.
Play the Hungry Crab, come on. Rub that salt in the wounds. Do it. Do it.
You're a cruel...
I am a cruel man, but I want to show them that not only did I just beat you, but yes, you play it. Okay. Exactly. And you can win the game as well comfortably. So Czech Republic going to be tying this one up. 2-2. There are not going to be any 3-0s, and we have a series on our hand down. We are going to go down to the ace match.
Yep, I believe Kalento is playing again as the ace player, unless I've misremembered that.
He's not going to go for the BM lethal, is he? He's not going to play the double alley cat. He's considering just play... Stop it, Pokravac. Finish this game off. He was already too cruel with the Hungry Crab.
You were encouraging that.
Yeah, the Hungry Crab was okay, but this is even worse.
You've got to go all in. If you're going to do the BM, you're going to go for it. Pokravac goes for the knife juggle. Second knife goes face. Kalento with a smile there.
Filthy BM.
Okay, look, let's think about that from a tactical point of view. They're about to go into their 5th game. It's been the beginning of what could be a reverse sweep from Team Czech Republic. They want to make their opponents feel bad. They want to tilt their opponents if they possibly can. It's a strategy. I don't think it worked, though, as Kalento came away from that smiling.
Dirty play. I liked the crab. I encouraged the crab. The alley cat was just too far. However, now we go into the ace match. This is where this gets serious, Dan. We haven't seen an ace match all week. We didn't see one yesterday.
We haven't seen, like, 2 teams winning a game all day.
Yeah, all day. First, we've had 3-0, 3-0. Yesterday we had 2 3-0s as well. So finally we're going to see a best of 5 go the distance and into the ace.
And you'd expect it from this series as well. The 2 top teams in Group H. Stansifka versus Nick Chipper. My apologies. I saw Stansifka was in the ace match, and I was just hoping it would be Kalento as his opponent. I want to see the rematch. It's not going to happen. Instead, it's going to be Nick Chipper.
So maybe Stansifka encouraged that BM.
Maybe.
Maybe he was like, no, I want to get some sort of revenge on Kalento here.
Yeah.
Let's do it with the alley cat knife juggler combo.
Now, Nick Chipper passing up on the Hunter. I wonder if Stansifka would have expected the Hunter and went for his Warrior as some form of a counter. If his Warrior is a Quest Warrior, then it would make sense to counter the Hunter with it. But then Nick Chipper pulls the old bait and switch, goes for Druid. If it's J Druid, it beats the Warrior. So many mind games at play here.
However, you did say, and we do know that Nick Chipper likes to play the aggressive decks.
Right.
So we naturally lean towards it being an aggro Druid.
Well, this is what I mean. Like, it depends where he's at with the mind games, because if he wanted to trick his opponent into thinking it was a Hunter, and if he was prepared for this outcome, then maybe they've lined up J Druid. Don't forget, it is a team effort, the Hearthstone Global Games. He's not playing on his own. And to a point, his personal preference just doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It is going to be a conversation that is had with everyone. He will, of course, put forward his personal preference and say, this is the deck that I believe I'm better piloting. This is the reasons why I want to be using this deck. However, you have everyone else in the team saying, well, these are the reasons why you're not allowed to play it. This is what we think is going to be better in the meta. And all of those kind of cooks are coming in. And to be honest, most of the time it doesn't spoil the broth. However, we have seen in certain situations the ropes come through, and it is a little bit of a struggle with everybody talking at once.
What I will say is Stancifka did bring Quest Warrior to HCT. It was in his lineup.
Okay.
So either he's very confident with it and believes he's okay to bring it again, or again, I've used this phrase all week, bait and switch. His opponents know that he's been playing Quest Warrior. Of course, they'll have done that research. They'll be expecting it. And, oh, it's a Pirate Warrior.
Is it going to be Pirate Warrior? Is it going to be Quest Warrior? Is it going to be Jade Druid? Is it going to be Aggro Druid? Let's get into the final match of the day. It is the ace match. It's what this series deserves, to be honest. And Dan, it's going to be Jade Druid against Quest Warrior. Oh,
I want to ask
the mind games.
I want to ask Nick Chipper this, because this was my original thought. Like, if he wants his opponent to play a deck that's strong against Hunter and then plays Druid, which is strong against that deck, this seems to have paid off perfectly for Nick Chipper, who is definitely the favorite in this matchup.
And that's not a bad mulligan either, to be honest. You've got the Innovate, Jade Blossom, plus a Wild Growth. That's a lot of mana to be had.
It's almost as good as it gets, really, yeah. He might want to keep hold of the Wrath in case he's against a Pirate Warrior. That's the one consideration. If he knew he was against a Quest Warrior, I think he'd have just kept everything. Actually going to throw away Wild Growth, Innovate out Jade Blossom on turn 1, Wrath on 2, Nourish soon after that.
Yep. A lovely set of cards for Nick Chipper on the side of Stancifka, still deliberating with his team as to what the best approach is for his mulligan. Looks like he's just going to be happy to keep everything as well.
He's keeping the quest, so he's expecting this to be Jade. I think he's worked out Nick Chipper's mind games there. You don't keep the quest against Token Druid.
No.
You need better cards than that.
So you say that the Jade Druid is favored here.
Yep.
And I agree with you. There is, however, ways of winning this game as the Quest Warrior.
Okay.
If you can complete your quest quick enough before those Jades get out of control, before they are bigger than 8, you can just be able to rain down shots with that Die Insect, hopefully clean up the board, hopefully in combination with a Brawl, and be able to put enough damage to the face of your opposition. It's certainly not going to be easy, and things like Earthen Scales also make that more difficult too.
And I think there's another if, and that other if is if the Druid runs out of cards, if the Druid fails to pick up the Nourishes, the Gadgets and Auctioneers, etc. The problem for the Warrior is that even when the quest is complete, he plays a Jade Behemoth and he gets 2 minions. He plays a Jade Spirit and he gets 2 minions. It's more difficult for the Ragnar's Hero Power to run the Druid out of stuff because they get a lot of bang for their buck when it comes to playing big cards for small amounts of mana.
Now, everyone at home might be wondering, why on earth did they just rope to play their quest? An obvious play, perhaps, but it's about using that time to your advantage, about thinking about a play or two ahead. And I like to touch on that because I think it's something that is underrated in Hearthstone, that people don't consider that you need to be planning sometimes more than just the turn that's right in front of you.
Right. Now, it was a very quick turn from Ukraine there, where he didn't do anything, which is quite surprising as well. Like the opposite of what you just said.
Of exactly what I was just saying.
I actually think that there's some sort of issue going on. Not completely sure on that, so not going to say any more until we hear something from production. But I'm seeing messages popping up on one of our monitors.
Do you think he ended the turn by accident? I mean, I've had that happen to me so many times. I usually just hit the concede button after that happens, in shame, to be honest.
Well, that's definitely not something that's going to happen in this tournament.
No.
I don't think that's what happened. Again, I'm reluctant to say too much more until we've heard something, but I think it's quite clear that there's a problem here.
I mean, alternatively, maybe he did just pass the turn, and he's more than happy to just go for an Innovate, Coin, Nourish next turn. That's my thinking behind it. I mean, what was your thought process? Are you thinking that usually you'd see an Innovate into Jade Blossom, perhaps? Who knows? But we will see the Armor Smith played on the board for Stancifka here. Wrath off the top.
Wrath, yeah, I mean, Wrath isn't going to do anything against this Armor Smith here. It's a question of whether he wants to coin out the Jade Blossom or Feral Rage this down. Oh, something popped up there.
Stranger things are happening right now. But naturally, I'd be leaning towards Innovate, coin into Nourish.
Okay.
To be honest, I think it's a pretty juicy turn. However, the other options, I guess, is coin into Jade Blossom.
Coin Jade Blossom,
You're not too worried about the Armor Smith.
I think that's the obvious play. You definitely want to get the Jade Blossom out as early as possible. Unlike the Wild Growth that was thrown away in the Mulligan, Jade Blossom just only becomes more and more useless over time. As Nick Chipper with Team Ukraine trying to work out if they're going to play something.
He is actually going to play a card this turn. The Wrath seems interesting. But I do believe there is something wrong. You were correct, Dan. It looks like there was a little bit of discrepancy of some sort. So we'll find that one out soon from admins and we'll get some clarity for you guys at home. But in the meanwhile then, we are into this final game. It is a very tense situation and it does mean a lot for both of these teams.
Right.
I mean, the pride that's on the line and just being able to say, we are the best team in this group. I mean, naturally, I don't want to say they will win the group if they win this game, because there may be a way that both teams end at 4-1, for example, and then we might have other tiebreakers come into the equation. But if before the series you had to say that either Ukraine or Czech Republic was the better side, who would you say is the strongest team, just from players as it is?
Again, I've got to lean over towards Team Ukraine. That their competitive pedigree is just ridiculous. I mean, just forget everything from the past just for a moment. Two of these guys through to Shanghai. Don't forget everything from the past, because then I was going to say Dr. Hippie, second place World Championship last year. That was only, what, 6 months ago? So second place World Championship, losing out only to Pavel, one of the best players in the world. So Dr. Hippie, also incredibly up there. Nick Chipper, just an insanely strong ladder player. Everybody knows who Nick Chipper is. Well, no, that's not fair. Not everybody knows who Nick Chipper is.
My mum doesn't know who Nick Chipper is.
Your mum does not know who Nick Chipper is. But anyone that's been top 100, I think, in ladder ever, they'll start to recognize his name. When I first started hitting Legend ever, that's when I noticed, who's this Nick Chipper guy that keeps beating me? What's going on there?
When was that, last month? Hey-oh! It wasn't. He hit a Legend a long time before me, don't worry. But okay, so if you're saying that Ukraine are the stronger side, just naturally, whilst you just mill that one over and get that sweet, sweet salt going on, would you say this is an upset if Czech Republic were able to take this game? Would Ukraine be devastated that they aren't the dominant force in the group?
I don't know if I want to talk to you right now, Dan.
Sorry.
No, I wouldn't call it an upset. Team Czech Republic have been doing very, very well in this tournament. I'd say if it was like game number one of the entire global games, if the first matchup was Ukraine versus Czech Republic and Ukraine lost, then I'd call it an upset. But I think by this point, Czech Republic have proven themselves.
They have, and at the moment it is 2-2, but there is something going on in the background. So we are going to go for a very short break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we are going to get into the ace match and find out who is going to win this series. Welcome back, everybody. We are still getting ready for game number 5. We're sorry there was a little bit of a technical difficulty, but I'm being told we are going to be able to get into that 5th match. It's Ukraine versus Czech Republic. We're at 2-2, and we're going to find out who is going to be the leader in this group, who is going to assert that dominance.
And you know what? I think this one's worth the wait as well. Ukraine versus Czech Republic. We've been talking about this for the last few hours. If you've only just joined us, they are the top teams in Group H. Winner of this game probably wins the group. And even if both teams do end up going 4-1, the winner of this game was the guy that beat the other joint first. So in my heart, the winner of this game is winner of the group.
And of course, there is that possibility of them both going 4-1. As you said, game records at the moment, very similar as well, and that's not going to change too much. For example, if Czech Republic do win this one, just having that one extra win, but it's going to be very difficult to see whether Ukraine are going to be able to get an extra win or not, but we're just about to get ready for game number 5. We have the ace match. It's Stan Sivka versus Nick Chipper. Nick Chipper known for his aggressive decks, known for his slightly off-meta decks. However, Stan Sivka known for just being an absolute animal when it comes to Hearthstone, to be honest. And that's why this game is so exciting, and we are going to get this one underway.
Yeah, I believe, as was the case a few moments ago, it is going to be the Quest Warrior versus the Jade Druid. And as we said, huge favorite for the Jade Druid.
Yeah, I'd say that this is a favoured matchup as well, as we previously discussed. Both Earthen Scales as a possibility. I don't think you keep them in the hand ever, so I think this is probably going to be a situation of tossing all aside. It's unfortunate for Ukraine that they don't have any of their wild growths at the moment, no innovates. They want to be able to generate those mana crystals nice and early on to get a lead over this Quest Warrior.
Yep, they may decide to hold on to the Nourish if they want to guarantee the card draw later. In fact, yep, they are going to hold on to the Nourish. But yeah, as we jump in, Quest comes down straight away. Nick Chipper going to be very glad that he made that decision and held on to the Nourish, because obviously if this is a Pirate Warrior, that would not have been a good keep. Hungry Crab and Jade Druid, don't think I've seen that one before.
No, I mean, everyone's just been kind of throwing Hungry Crab here, there, and everywhere into everything because, well, if it does manage to nom down on a Murloc, it can win you games. And of course, Murloc Paladin was so huge. And we saw Murlocs being included in, of course, the aggro Druid deck as well. But Ukraine, knowing that there are no Murlocs in the Quest Warrior, they're more than happy to just drop this down onto turn 1.
Now, Stan Sivka doesn't have the best start here. He's got 2 slams, but it doesn't feel right wasting one of those on a little 1-2. Really, he wants to get some card draw for those slams. He needs to draw his taunt minions. He needs to complete that quest as soon as possible.
Oh, baby.
Wild Growth falling perfectly into Nick Chipper's hand. He can just coin out Nourish next turn if he wants to.
Always a good feeling when you have tried to find those Wild Growth through your mulligan and then you're rewarded anyway for them coming out nice and early on. Still awkward, as you said, Falcone, for Czech Republic here. Just going to have to armor up. Nothing they can really do. Thankfully, they're not facing down against any immediate threat. Gluttonous Ooze is another teching decision that may get some value here as well for Ukraine.
Some players like their tech cards, other players don't. Clearly, Nick Chipper believes that these tech cards are good enough to warrant a place in Jade Druid. Jade Druid, a deck which is quite hard to actually replace cards because they all feel so vital. Going to go ahead and Nourish out the card draw. Picks up a Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Oh, make that 2 Gadgetzan Auctioneers. Exactly what they're going to need in the late game to make sure they never run out of resources.
Always tempted to keep the Innovate because they've got the Auctioneer as well. Depends how they feel about this turn. I mean, there is a temptation to Innovate out Aya here, but it's not going to happen. Instead, just a Gluttonous Ooze.
Yeah.
Whilst apparently a laser is going to be fired. If you miss this one,
Oh! Got him! Yeah, no, the Innovate holding onto it makes a lot of sense. Because there's 2 Gadgetzan Auctioneers in the hand, the synergy is just so good. There's no reason to rush out the Innovate. You can just play the Gluttonous Ooze. Yeah, okay, you don't eat up a weapon, but big deal. It's not Pirate Warrior. It doesn't matter too much. Next turn, you can just play Aya on curve, start the Jade train going.
I want to shout out Cursor Guy for hitting that shot.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one.
I always miss it first time.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But you're completely right. Just playing the patient game for Ukraine here. The fact they can play Aya next turn, and then they have the follow-up of Auctioneer plus Innovate if they want to use that.
What is Stan Sivka going to do here? Ali Armorsmith and Direhorn Hatchling seem like the obvious cards to have in the hand to play. Right now.
They are obvious cards for West Warrior, to be honest.
It's pretty obvious that they're in the hand, you're right. Direhorn Hatchling's the one he goes with. It trades very nicely against the Gluttonous Ooze. It makes much more sense, as Nick Chipper may not feel like he's able to play the Aya now.
So what do you think the game plan is here for the Quest Warrior? Aside from the obvious of completing the quest, is that obvious? Is it just a case of we need to get our taunts down, we need to get our hero power, we need to get the Insect as quickly as possible, otherwise we just outright lose this game to sheer value?
Yep, that's the game plan. Complete the quest, I think, as with most quest decks, really. But I don't think there's any other way to beat the Jade Druid here, whereas against the Mage, Warrior doesn't need to complete the quest to win. They can just armor up a bunch. In fact, often they don't want to play Sulfuras and sacrifice the hero power. Here, they need to. Taunt minions are poorly statted to justify the fact that they've got Taunt. That's just a fact. Jade minions, after the first 3 or so have been played, are incredibly well statted. There's no way that the warrior can trade minion for minion as the game goes on. They need to complete the quest. They need to get dealing 8 damage to each minion. And that's how this game is going to go. Quest gets completed in the next 4 or 5 turns, then they win. Otherwise, it's going to be a hard time for the warrior.
I guess those brawls are going to be extremely important as well. We can also see Ravaging Ghoul plus Sleep with the Fishes to try and eliminate as much as they can from the board. For Nick Chipper, the game is literally as simple as put as much Jades on the board as possible, get them as big as possible, and hope that I can just beat the Quest Warrior before they get just crazy 8 damage every turn. So now the options they have, they could Auctioneer, innovate into Feral Rage if they wanted to. Of course, Jade Spirit feels like a nice turn just because you're putting more Jades on the board.
Yeah, you know, I don't think there's any hurry to play the Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Those cards are just game-breakingly good when played at the right time. Nick Chipper's used 1 Wild Growth already. He's got another one in the deck. If he can hold on to the Auctioneer until he picks up the second Wild Growth, play it on turn 10, get 3 cards for the price of 1, that always seems pretty good. The Feral Rage and Jade Spirit worked out very nicely here. Almost nice enough to bait out a Brawl, actually, if only Stansifka had one. We may see Ravaging Ghoul Sleep with the Fishes.
Yeah, this could be the perfect opportunity for that combo, as you said. Alternatively, they have just drawn the Direhorn's bigger brother, put a nice, juicy 6/9 body on the board if they would like.
I think it's the mother, actually.
Well, I mean, yeah, it could be the mother, I guess. I can understand that. But why would... I don't even want to get into the logistics of that, actually.
Or father.
I mean...
Which one is Matriarch? Wow.
This one.
We're so...
The hatchling is the baby.
Yeah, but Matriarch, that means male or female. I'm just not sure which.
Sorry, my dinosaur knowledge isn't quite up there. Back in year 4 science, I didn't learn about dinosaurs as much as I should have.
I'm going to go with the mother. Twitch chat will correct me if I'm wrong. Going to go with Ravaging Ghoul Sleep with the Fishes, as we said earlier. They've got a second Sleep with the Fishes to follow that up later. Probably going to use that to follow up the Primordial Drake.
Curator off the top is good. It's more possible card draw. I don't think you need to fill up the... complete the turn with using the whole use of your mana crystals with the Earthen Scales. To be honest, I kind of like just waiting to use it for more card draw with the Auctioneer a little bit later. Plus, just getting any insane value from a massive Jade if this game does go far enough that you are worried about your life total.
Curator is such an odd card for Jade Druid to have in the deck.
It's a taunt. It's a defensive option, I guess. It's more defensive options.
Given that there was no Beast and no Murloc drawn, I don't believe we've seen another Beast or Murloc from... Oh, no, we've seen Hungry Crab. Sorry, we've seen Hungry Crab. So actually, it makes sense now. If it's going to draw you Hungry Crab and Primordial Drake most of the time, then yeah, it's fine. I just think if Curator's only there to draw you Primordial Drake, then it just doesn't seem that strong to me. There's the Matriarch. Still going to go with Mother.
I don't know, it sounded like a male roar to me.
How can you tell the difference between roars, Dan?
Because I have a time machine, Dan.
Oh.
It's in the top right-hand corner and it's got a boot in it at the moment.
Is it your boot?
Yes.
Ah, suits you.
So another Drake. You've got 2 Drakes as a possibility here if he wants to try and do his best to clear up this board. Actually, a 6/9 body is relatively awkward here.
I mean, a 5-mana 6/9 is just insane. I said that the Taunt minions were poorly statted earlier, but that doesn't include this one. This is a very, very good stats for a 5-mana card. Actually, very poor turn for Nick Chipper here.
Yeah,
He's going to actually draw some cards.
He's looking for more answers, but then I'm starting to think, well, what are those answers? Does have more Jade possibilities now.
That's the first one as well, isn't it? The first Jadeite also. I believe he's safe to play that, doesn't need to shuffle it.
He's just going to use the swipe to try and clear up as much of the board as possible here. Of course, he's not going to be able to clear the whole thing, but a very full hand, and a full hand does mean that the Auctioneers aren't going to have the value that perhaps that you would want them to. I guess they're going to get the value later if we can see the Jade Idols and the Auctioneers just be able to play turn after turn to be a real annoyance for the Quest Warrior. But meanwhile, Dan, those taunts are racking up.
They are. Stansifka is considering playing a 0-4 with taunt. That's 6 out of 7 now. when it comes to the quest. 6 out of 7. So the hero power is probably going to change over soon. The question is it going to be good enough? Stansifa still hasn't picked up a Brawl yet. He doesn't have anything to combo with the Sleep with the Fishes anymore. And now Nick Chipper's going to get through his deck. He's going to pick up all of the Jade cards he could possibly want. Starts with the shuffle so that he's more likely to pick up another Jade Idol. Doesn't get it just yet. Might consider playing Earthen Scales just to keep this cycling going. If he can Earthen Scales and then get a Jade Idol and then play that and then get another Jade Idol, then that turns into a winning play.
I think I just prefer Jade Blossom.
Jade Blossom is safer because you'd rather gain more armor with the Earthen Scales, especially after the Ragnaros hero power.
And you get another Jade on the board.
And obviously you get another Jade on the board.
And it fits the mana cost.
Yeah.
Oh, but there was a Jade Idol as well.
So he would have been rewarded for making the Earthen Scales Jade Idol play, drawn 2 more cards through his deck.
I guess if you see that as a reward. I mean, it could go 2 ways, right? If you could see the being drawn is a reward, but also maybe it's not a reward because you don't get that extra armor value, which could be significant later on.
I'll tell you what, there's a potential punish here. I don't know about all these rewards, but if Dirty Rat hits that second Gadgetzan Auctioneer, that's really going to slow the rest of the game down for Nick Chipper. It's gonna come down right now.
What's the worst though? I mean, maybe even a Jade Spirit or the Behemoth would be.
That'd be fine, yeah.
Would be okay.
Only
here.
Primordial Drake would be bad for Stan with the Dirty Rat.
It's an awkward situation because it completes his quest, but it might put an awkward minion that he has to deal with on the board. Does have a slam to use if he wants to search for a different taunt minion instead. But it looks like he is just going to go for it. And
I don't know, Dan. I ain't talking. Let's go. We want to know which minion gets pulled out. Come on, Quest.
The quest is more important, Dan. This is what you have to learn.
Hit! All right. That is exactly the card that Stan Sifka wanted to see. He can use the Sulfuras to clean up the other minion, and now a lot of Nick Chipper's steam has been removed from his hand. He's no longer going to get to play Auctioneer, Innovate, Jade Idol, and everything else he would have done this turn. He is in a much worse position now, thanks to that Dirty Rat.
I mean, this is what we were saying. At the start of the game, perhaps Jade Druid, they're favored here, because those Jades just can surpass the Die Insect ability to kill them one after one, but Nick Chipper hasn't been able to get those Jades on the board. Instead, the race has been won by Czech Republic. They've got the quest completed. They can just do 8 damage turn after turn, and they have a board presence as well. Extremely awkward for Ukraine. A really difficult turn.
A lot that he can do. To be fair, on the flip side, he can build up some pretty big Jades here. I think we're on 4-4 with the most recent. Yeah, so this makes a 5-5. He can play Jade Spirit as well. That makes a 6-6. It means that if Stan Sifka is going to brawl this board away, then he's losing his own stuff as well. So this is a pretty good comeback from Ukraine there. They're saying, look, there's the best possible play that Stan Sifka's got. Doesn't really beat this. So for now, there's pressure on the board.
So slams, trades, sleep with the fishes. There are ways of dealing with this board.
It's a good start. That's a good start.
Of course, slams will search as well for more options. I'm trying to think the most efficient way here.
Yeah, he's going to do it your way. Slam the 5-5, set up for the sleep with the fishes, pick up a second Dirty Rat. I don't think there's any need to play that now. You'll just be pulling out a minion that you can't necessarily deal with. I would hold on to the Dirty Rat until Stan Sifka picks up Brawl.
He's just going to slam the Behemoth as well. Annoyingly, the Sleep with the Fishes is relatively awkward, but it is going to work out if he does trade this one right.
No time to decide if he's good. Well, he can't play Primordial Drake anyway. There we go. Hero Power hoping to get rid of the 6-6.
Is he, though? I think that might be the better option, hitting the face there.
Do you know what? He did look pretty happy when that happened.
Because theoretically, that is a possibility of just hitting face next turn. Of course, we can see that Earthen Scales are available for Nick Chipper to put himself above that 8 health
I just want to mention, though, imagine if there was a Gadgetzan Auctioneer in this hand. We'd be looking at Auctioneer, Innovate, Jade Idol, Earthen Scales, Jade Bloss. All of this would be possible in one turn.
So do you Drake Earthen Scales here?
Let's see.
You could Drake double Earthen Scales if you want after playing... I mean, that's his second Jade Idol. Is that correct?
It is. So there should be a third, right? Because he shuffled once.
He's already shuffled.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's totally fine to play. Going to actually Earthen Scales, the weaker minion, it means he gets one less armor, but it means that his board is able to survive against more.
No Brawl.
Actually, no real way of getting rid of this board whatsoever. Stancifka seemed so happy about that Ragnar's Hero Power hitting the face, but Earthen Scales is such a strong card. 1 mana, gain 7 armor.
And there's another one. That's the scary factor. Yes, okay, Czech Republic were in such a commanding position. However, these Jades are getting bigger. One more Jade, and they are going to be too big for Diensect to deal with.
I think that hit the worst target as well. If it hit the 4-8, then Stancifka could have used his weapon to deal with the 7-3. If it hit the 7-7, then he was removing the biggest minion from the board, so that's the worst one. Still no Brawl. It's a bit of a disaster for Stancifka now. Lorinda was saying to me earlier, a lot of these Crest Warriors are only running 1, and we're seeing firsthand why that's sometimes a problem.
Yeah, Czech Republic would have been thinking they were in a comfortable position until that Earthen Scales was suddenly brought out.
And they know there's the possibility of another one. I think we've only seen one Feral Rage too, right? We saw an aggressive Feral Rage earlier.
Trying to draw out what they can here and just contest this board. Already used both Sleep with the Fishes as well, and now the Jades can be made bigger than the hero power. This is where the game gets ugly.
8-8, 9-9. Both, if Nick Chipper wanted to, he could play both and make them both bigger than the hero power because he could Earthen Scales the 8-8. He's not going to want to do that. He definitely, I think the appearance of Dirty Rat will make Nick Chipper expect a Brawl.
Yeah, I don't think you don't need to get too excited. You don't want to go overkill here.
There's just no
point. You play everything,
Yep.
then you've suddenly depleted your hand and you were just hoping for the top deck of Jade Idols, which can happen.
Then again, Ukraine do need to set up for the win sooner rather than later because as it stands, he survives 2 hit. Well, he survives 1 hit and then dies to the 2nd hit of the Ragnar's Hero Power. After the Earthen Scales, he probably survives 1 more, but his time will run out eventually.
Yeah, but I think if one of those Ragnaros, well, Diensect hits his face, then he can make the decision to switch up his tempo. I think for now he has time to work with. Time is certainly on his side, thanks to that original Earthen Scales. Sticky situation for Czech. It was looking like they were in good nick after completing that quest relatively early.
But this is what Jade Druids do. Okay, gonna just use the 1, hold on to the more valuable Jade card, the Jade Behemoth, wait until a little bit later. And now Stancifka not picking up Brawl yet again. Second Fiery War Axe is probably the worst draw in the deck, given that he already has 1 equipped. Let's see where this goes. It's gonna hit again, the weakest minion.
Shame, really. Hasn't really worked out for Stancifka and the Czech Republic here, and perhaps we're starting to see the possibility of Ukraine taking this one.
I think it's highly likely. Again, Nick Chipper reeling over the loss of his second Gadgetzan Auctioneer as he picks up Wild Growth, which with the Auctioneer would have been 3 cards, but now it's only 1.
So do you think if that first ever Diensect hit had hit the minion rather than face, Czech Republic would have been in a better position here, Dan?
That's very hard to say. I hope that we get to see the highlight back so we can maybe draw upon that again in the future.
I'm not sure it will be a highlight, but
I don't recall.
to be fair, I think they were out of this one anyway, unfortunately for them, and now they are staring down possible next turn lethal unless they draw something significant here.
If there was no Earthen Scales,
Then they hit the right target.
well, in theory, yes, but I think Nick Chipper would still be alive because he's got more than 8 health now.
Double Whirlwind plus Ravaging Ghoul does really help clear up some of this board. Actually,
It does actually, yeah.
the most of this board.
Actually, all of this board.
All of this board, yep. They can deal up with their face as well,
Okay.
and then they can put 8 damage to face here. So actually,
So now,
game on.
now if not for the Earthen Scales, Stansifka would have just won earlier, or would have just won now, actually.
So
unfortunately, there's a second Earthen Scales.
Yeah, unfortunately. This is where the Jade Behemoth comes down, plus the Earthen Scales, to ensure that they are out of range of a possible Rag hit. But they can't get through. If there was a way of getting through the taunt, so I'm thinking, so how much do they get? That Jade Behemoth is going to make a Jade that is 9/9, so they will get, what, 10 armor? So that'll put themselves up to 17. If the Ravaging Ghoul won the Brawl, for example, nope, still not going to work out.
Look at the hope that the Czech Republic have got right now. They're talking very enthusiastically to each other. They're so close to just taking this game. They're one hero power hit away. But that Jade Behemoth is just going to shut them down. It's a taunt. It's 10 armor. 10 armor, is that right? I think so.
Yep. Their dreams are going to be crushed ever so slightly here.
10 armor plus hero power will put Nick Chipper on... Oh, he's not going to hero power. He's going to innovate out the Earthen Scales. If he didn't play Earthen Scales here, I would be shocked.
Yeah, I'm slightly concerned.
All right, so 17 health total, which means 3 Ragnar's hero powers now is what it would take. As Stansifka picks up the Curator. Wonder if he has any beasts left. He's used both Primordial Drakes. He may have a Deathwing. It's possible.
But I mean, it's just game over. Probably. It depends where the Ragnaros hit goes, to be honest. Still awkward for them. You definitely have to play the Curator.
Yeah, no, I think even Curator, even if the Ragnaros hero power hits one of the minions with 3 attack, I think it's still just lethal.
Annoyingly, if they had got a Brawl off the top and Ravaging Ghoul had won, they would have been 1 off lethal.
Wow. But unfortunately, Curator, Wrath plus 3 attack minion goes into it, plus hero power, and the 10 attack goes to the face. Oh, Curator, wait, Curator only has 6 health, not 7. What am I talking about? It only takes the Wrath plus the minion.
Yeah, it's okay. I know what you meant.
7, it's got 7 mana, wow, okay.
But unfortunately, Curator not really going to be enough. They are going to see where this Giant goes, and it goes on to the big old Jade as well, and that's the problem. Those Jades just are too beefy. And unfortunately, this is game, set, and match for Ukraine, who can cruise on through the Curator thanks to the Wrath. They're going to get a card draw as well. And why not? Let's just summon a Jade Idol. We remember what you did with the Knife Juggler Alley Cat, so we're going to throw a little bit of BM in as well. Ukraine are going to be the current giants of this group, 4-0 now. Absolutely unstoppable, it would seem.
I've got to say, this game was very well played by Stansifka and Team Czech Republic. The fact that they came so close to winning what I would call a very unfavored matchup just goes to show how good these players are. But Ukraine coming out on top, I'm not surprised there at all, especially once we saw what that last matchup was. Congratulations then, how 4-0 in Group H. 4-0.
I mean, they had already definitely qualified anyway, but now they are just surpassing perhaps expectations. They wouldn't have thought they were going to go 4-0. Maybe they thought it was going to be a little bit closer.
Should be top seed as well in the next phase of the competition.
Perhaps if they are able to top this group as well, yeah, it might affect the second stage for them. You can see all the classes that were played. It was down to the wire. We went to the ace match. I'm delighted, to be honest, that we did go to the ace match because we've had 3-0s today. We were having 3-0s yesterday. We weren't getting those long best of 5s that actually both of these countries really deserved.
Yeah, it's the one that I wanted to see go to the ace match as well. When you've got the 2 top groups, or the 2 top teams, sorry, in the group, you don't want that to just be a clean sweep, do you? You want to see them really going at it, and I'm very impressed with what we saw.
I'm also very impressed. I'm going to have a chat now with Kalento. Kalento, can you hear me? Yes. No? Yeah, you can. Good. That was a very nice win for you guys. It came very close to the wire. What are your thoughts, though, on the Alley Cat BM? Because, personally, I thought it was filthy.
Nah, that was fine, I think. It's fine to play for public when it doesn't matter, right? There's 0% chance they could lose the game.
Yeah, I think the game was pretty much over anyway, but still.
It entertained us.
It did entertain us, yeah.
Kalento, congratulations as well for qualifying for the Spring Championships. Obviously, you get to go to Shanghai once again to go and compete there. And now you've won, well, you've probably won the group for Stage 1 of the Hearthstone Global Games. How are you feeling right now just about competitive Hearthstone as you just completely assert your dominance once again?
I mean, we did as a team.
Yeah, it's a team game. It's not all about. It's not the Colento show. Come
No,
on.
of course. Though Nyria did make it quite clear that you're the main decision maker on the team in his interview. Do you disagree?
There's a lot of discussion that goes on. Do you think between the whole team? Would you
I think
say?
they're just a bit hasty oftentimes.
Okay.
So your role is to slow them down?
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. You've always got to have someone as the backbone. Well, congratulations, Colento. We wish you the best of luck in your final game of the week. And, of course, you have that opportunity to win the group. So, well done on you. You had a great game. Good luck at Shanghai as well.
Thank you. I'll try to do that.
I mean, at Shanghai, this guy, he's going to Shanghai. This is the Colento that we're talking about that was dominant throughout 2014. He then, just as you said, took a little bit of a break throughout 2015-16, just kind of streaming
Just
a little
from
bit.
competitive Hearthstone, yeah. I mean, he was streaming all the time.
And that's the thing, even when you are streaming, you're still playing, and it's still fantastic. But we are just going to see a few highlights from the series. It did go down to the wire. We thought maybe we were going to have a 3-0 victory from Ukraine, but the dream wasn't alive. Czech Republic certainly made a game of it thanks to, well, the third game from Stan Sivka to bring them back into the series, really.
Yeah, a strong performance at the start from Ukraine. Obviously, it got close to being a reverse sweep. I thought this was going to be a 3-0 at first, with the dominating performance as the Quest Rogue as well. Nyria just shutting down Czech Republic, getting that quest complete on turn 5, activated on turn... on turn 4, activated on turn 5. Czech Republic didn't have a hope in that game.
Unfortunately not. I mean, where do you see both of these teams stopping this train, Dan? Because the train's been rolling for both of them. They have both qualified. Can you see them getting to the latter stages of this competition? Are we expecting to see them right at the deep end of this tournament?
I think Ukraine will have believed to have shut down Czech Republic for now and stopped that train. But no, jokes aside, they're both probably through. Oh, no, I think we established they're definitely
They're both definitely through
to the next phase of the competition. I don't think these trains are stopping anytime soon. They've shown in the early days of the Hearthstone Global Games that they can play as a team. They know how to win this game together. There we go. We've got some bananas going on there.
Personal highlight of mine, actually witnessing the banana eating. As you said, someone's got to bring that to the team. Someone's got to make sure that everyone is well fed. They've got nutrition in their body.
Yeah.
You got to keep awake for Hearthstone. You got to be on the ball, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And bananas, that would be my top tip. To anyone watching at home, go eat a banana. You'll be all the better at Hearthstone for it.
Unfortunately, it won't win you a series, though, because apparently you would just lose to Ukraine anyway.
Actually, they were coming back into it while they were eating bananas, and I fully give the bananas credit for that.
You think the bananas were the only reason they came back?
Well, did they eat a single banana in this last game?
This is true. And this game was closer than expected. You were telling me from the get-go, really, that this was advantage to the Jade Druid, but the quest was completed early enough for Czech Republic, so they made a game of it. They came close, but unfortunately, both Earthen Scales were too much for Czech Republic to go through. The 8 damage from Die Insect couldn't penetrate the armor, and we felt a little bit sad. Let's have a look and see how that affects the group then. Of course, they were both already qualified, but Ukraine sitting pretty now at 4-0 with a 12-4 game record.
12-4!
Wow.
That means they've lost one game on average in each series of Hearthstone that they've played. That is incredible.
Absolutely insane. Czech Republic still do qualify at 3-1, but the interesting part is going to be Philippines, Belarus, Germany. Who's going to get there? Philippines and Belarus still have to play each other. That is why Czech Republic are guaranteed qualification spot. Of course, if Philippines and Belarus had already played, there would be a possibility for them both maybe to get to 3 victories, but instead with them competing against each other, it does mean that we see both of those giant forces qualifying, but it is Ukraine who are reigning supreme at the moment. Next up then, we have Romania versus Peru, and this is going to be a big one because if Romania lose, they are going to be out of the competition. Who'd have thought that? RDU going out. Maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't. Make sure you tune in just a few minutes to find out.
almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.